Hello, everyone. Welcome to another
exciting show that he says with such great excitement. What is it?
I don't know. I'm bored. I'm not really bored. I'm just tired. I'm really tired.
He is tired.
So as we always talking about our mastermind groups, that you have to find people of like-mindedness, and these folks help raise the bar for your personal and business life. We are just back from Freedom Founders, and we are going to go over some of the highlights and takeaways right after this. You know, I love that graphic with me arguing with me.
He never wins.
Oh, man.
It reminds me of my Zoom view from my office where I have a picture of me looking at me.
Looking at me.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us on the Real Estate Investor Show. Hard money for real estate investors. We are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders for real estate investors in the Southeast. If you're interested in borrowing money, go to carolinahardmoney.com and click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor looking for passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and most importantly, Wednesdays with Wendy.
Or not.
Just so you know, we're having a little slow internet problem, so sometimes the graphics are trailing behind us.
Yes.
So anyway, Wendy
just like our brain
donates 30 minutes of her time per person on Wednesdays to talk about anything real estate. Get on her calendar. There's a link. It's also in the chat box on the right-hand side or underneath your screen, depending on the platform you're viewing us from. She's usually booked out a couple of months in advance.
Going into May at this point. Yeah.
I made it through this.
You
one.
did. I'm proud.
You did great.
Almost sounded like a professional.
Almost.
And yes, if we have, you have any questions or comments, then put them over there in that little chat box, and we'll do our best.
If they're good, we'll read them and answer them.
You know what they say about there's no stupid questions?
Just stupid people.
That's right.
No, there actually are stupid questions. Those we're not answering.
Yeah, that's for sure. We should probably bring up the invasion of Russia into the Ukraine today. That was just really tough news to wake up to this morning. For me, we have so many friends that are from that area and in that area. We just need to be praying for them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, and selfishly, oil is up to $100 a barrel.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Russian stock market crashed. I think they said it's the lowest it's been in 40 years. People making a run on the bank too, trying to transfer their currency to US dollars and euros. And it's just been really sad.
We'll might discuss that as well. Maybe not.
Yeah, well, we need to see, how that's going to affect us, because it will.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's bring our friends on.
Yes. Without further ado, we're bringing some friends from Freedom Founders onto the show. So
part of our tribe.
Glenn Stromberg, Cheryl McKenna, and Fuquan Bilal, please come out of that green room.
There they are. Look at those pretty faces.
Yay. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much.
So listen, I'm going to go around the horn kind of, what was the name of that family? The Brady Bunch?
Yeah, that's right.
Brady Bunch style.
There's a story.
I actually, I thought this was a really good and timely mastermind, and it had to do with being, the theme was anti-fragile.
Anti-fragility.
And we are, running through some unknowns here with the economy.
Yeah.
And the best way to keep your business going is to make sure that you're not, one minor change won't get you into trouble.
Yeah, that you're building on solid ground. Yeah.
So Glenn, to that, What did you get the most out of? What was the one thing that popped out in your head?
And talk a little bit about what you do. What you do, Glenn.
Yeah, what I do is I buy manufactured homes on usually a half an acre to an acre tract of land. We have a lending model, a turnkey model. We buy the home, we fix it up like new. We like I say, we keep about a third for ourselves, turnkey, 2/3 to our lenders. I think we have our investors. We have I think 550 properties under management right now, and so
wow.
So yeah, we're in Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and we're just getting ready to go into Florida too. So that's what we do. That's what I do.
Awesome. So what was your big takeaway?
I thought it was timely. I thought it was a very timely meeting, and there was a lot of talk about 2008. We had panels on that, and it was really good. And then plus, the gentleman, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, from Zimbabwe, right? He experienced a currency crash in Zimbabwe. And, you hear about that one day that his parents were very wealthy businessmen, all of a sudden the currency crash happens and they're worth nothing. So,
Alistair McDonald, him?
Yeah, Alistair, yes.
Yeah.
That's his name. But for me, it was really good because, and once again, unbelievable timely. I woke up this morning, saw the same thing, with Russia invading Ukraine. Our stock market, I don't know what it is right now, but it was down 700-800 points when it opened. I saw that. But, the market has been hit hard. And I've been saying, I've been wrong for the last 3 years. I always confess that. I thought we were going to, because this is like the longest bull run I've ever seen. But to me, you can almost smell, there's just black swans everywhere right now, right? I mean, just inflation's running out of control. The war here, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So, I think people really do got to think. They've got to think. At least, well, not everyone does, but I am thinking defensively now. I'm thinking defensively, and I'm really thinking, what are the what ifs, and how do I protect myself personally and my business during these what I believe are going to be very, very rough times coming up. So,
right, I agree. How about you, Cheryl?
So, Cheryl, here's what I do. If you are a business owner and you accept credit cards as a form of payment from your customers, patients, whatever, there's a 60% chance that you are overpaying. Most businesses, though, they don't want to change merchant service providers.
Right.
So we help save money on that expense without changing providers. So business owners, if you're accepting credit cards and you get that statement in the mail or online and you look at it and you're like, I have no idea what this means. We know what all those acronyms mean. And most of the time we can find savings for the business owner. So it's straight to the bottom line profit. And I also loved the meeting that we were all at last weekend. I have pages and pages of notes. One of the first things that I wrote down was all progress begins with truth. And I thought that was good. You cannot become anti-fragile unless you take a truthful look at whatever you're trying to become anti-fragile in, right? And it could be personal as well as business.
Right.
So it's really about, you got to take that honest look and see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what do you need to do to become anti-fragile? And the answer for that is so unique to all of us, right? Because even though like a lot of you are in sort of the same industry, but all of your organizations are completely different. So anti-fragile could be, how do you increase profit in a business? Right? Or personally, for me, I just try and be anti-fragile by surrounding myself with thinkers and good people, just really good people like you guys all are. I appreciate your integrity and also your honesty that you've given me. You've all helped me progress because you've been very truthful with me. It's like, Cheryl, you're at this spot, here's where you got to go next. So that was one of my big takeaways.
We feel the same way. It's funny too. You talked about how being anti-fragile, how are you going to increase your profit? I mean, that's what everybody wants, right? But is it by doing more, or is it by cutting back, slimming down your operation, figuring where the leaks are and plugging those holes, building stronger processes and systems? And, you know, is it, or is it a combination of the two? You know, it's, and like you said, it's different for everybody. I love that answer. That's awesome. Fuquan,
Yeah.
talk to us.
Yeah, it was a great event as always. Oh, so
It was.
Fuquan Bilal, Energy Capital Fund. My main responsibility is increasing revenue. That's what it is. That's what I was told. So that's what I'm doing. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So it was like, and by the way, Cheryl, I love the bookcase background. I'm actually on a due diligence trip in Atlanta. Going to look at some multifamily, so I have the hotel background right now. But anyway, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so the theme anti-fragile, really, it was great for me. I got the chance to share my life experiences that have made me actually Mr. Anti-Fragile, I believe. So, you know, from all those trials and tribulations we go through, we just add on a layer of tough skin and learn how to do things. So I'm grateful for 9/11 and 2008 because it made all of us, you know, who we are today, going through that and building. And even COVID, it really made us think different, underwrite deals different, and it set us up for whatever is to come, right? We already have a mindset that something is coming. We're building these relationships. And that was one of the biggest things I got from the event also, you know, really having those relationships and developing those true relationships where you can count on a support team to kind of either feed you information or feed you strategies. And like, as Cheryl mentioned, just being honest with you and telling you things that you need to correct or change to kind of, you know, move forward in whatever endeavor you're in. So I always like going to those events because it's like a spark and new energy you get from those events. And I always try to connect with at least 2 or 3 people to make the relationship deeper. You know, Bill was laughing at me. He was like, Fuquan, the names of their cats and dogs. So I mean, that's how deep I go, because the conversation is not just about financial friends or what we can do for each other financially. Is really how we can add value based on the relationship. You know, what can I do to serve constantly, having that mindset. And I know all of us are, you know, go givers, and that just filling your circle and creating those relationships with those types of people are great. The other good point that I got from that was really making sure that, you know, everyone is having an issue with staff, shortage of staff and everything else. And some of the strategies that was shared was you may need to hire up if you don't have enough coverage, just to make sure you have coverage, because it may cost you a little bit more, but at least service is provided. And in the long run, you'll benefit. So that was a big takeaway for me, because we're all trying to cut down, and, you know, with COVID and everything in place now, people are calling out constantly. So you want to make sure that you have the staff there to continue to be able to provide that same service. Even if it means taking a little bit of loss, you still have the good image of providing service to your customers. So,
right.
Yeah.
I want to go back to where you talked about the cats and the dogs. It's really, I mean, we were all blown away listening to how well you build relationships with your customers and your clients, that you are so in tune to them and what's going on in their world that you know the names of their cats and dogs. And I'm thinking, wow, that's really in depth, and it's not fake, you know, hey, what's your dog's name? Let me write it down. It's a real caring relationship. And I think, you know, with society the way it is, and business to where it's all become online, such as this, and everything's virtual, we've lost the ability to truly care about others and have a relationship, a real relationship, friendship with other people. And that's a great way to hedge against anti-fragility, is to really have those relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was actually something that Cheryl and I have been discussing a while ago, because we both have teenager sons, and we kind of share parenting strategies. And I was like, hey, you might want to try the active listening thing, because if you actually can sit there, give them the opportunity to express themselves, not cut them off, and really truly show that you are listening to what they're saying, that works. I started to use that in my business, and I saw a major turnaround. Instead of me just saying, getting on a call, giving them, telling them what I wanted to tell them, I started to reverse it, let them do all the talking. And sometimes I don't even talk about investments. Dave made a comment is like, they asked me about returns on investments, and I'm talking about something completely different. And it's almost like they have to just get to the point. Just how much are the returns? Because that's not what I'm trying to go into the intention of meeting this person to raise capital. I'm really trying to establish a lifelong relationship, because I believe that has more value than, a return. The real ROI is the relationship that you can create and how you guys can have a mutual benefit from that. So that's what I try to do, and just being an active listener helps, and those things that point out to them when you're communicating with them, if they are talking about a dog or a cat or a fish or whatever, I make note of that, and I kind of review the call again and make notes of things that were important to them that I saw that stood out on that conversation, and then just bring it up next time when I speak to them. And I learned that a very long time ago. There was a gentleman that he's retired now. When I first met him, I was talking about my kids, and he had asked me their names, and I had saw him 2 years later, and we were actually at an event, and he remembered the names of my 2 kids and the ages. And that was quite impressive to me. I was like, wow, 2 years later, I met him one time and he saw me again and he remembered that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. And I remember how that made me feel. So trying to do that is really important.
Well, yeah, you're 100% right. In a world that is so noisy, so distracting, when someone remembers you, it speaks volumes. Because, I know how many distractions I get and how much noise I hear. But when someone, like you said, remembers something that far, 2 years down the road, man, that person showed interest in me. I'm interesting to them.
Yeah.
I want
more of that.
I want to be around that person.
Yeah.
So that's great. I think Glenn had his.
I was going to say 2 things. My first thought when you said about dogs and cats, I'm thinking, man, I'm so ADHD. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I don't have a chance. but I admire you for that. But no, on a serious note, the beauty of these mastermind groups, right? And everybody on this call, we're all great friends, right? Like, I had the good fortune of being part of Freedom Founders from day one. The first meeting 11 years ago, right? And I kind of saw David's vision of, have a bunch of dentists with money, a bunch of real estate guys, put them together, they make money, create win-wins. I go, that's going to work, right? So, and it did. It's been great for all of us and for them and for all the dentists and so forth. But the real surprise for me is the unbelievable friendships that I've made through the years. People that I travel with, that do calls with, that just like I say, I can pick up the phone and ask if I need help, I can get help from them. They can pick up the phone, get help from me, and that was unexpected. I didn't realize that I'd have so many great friends from the group. I just didn't realize that. So,
and at the same time, building those relationships with the members, you have to balance it with your time. They're not your only customers as well. And getting that information and listening, it's smart that you record your phone calls, Fuquan, so you can go back and listen.
Well, for compliance too. That's the main reason, compliance.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and I get that. But
that's smart.
You still have to use automation, but you have to pick and choose what kind of automation. There's nothing worse than getting an email that says, "Hi, insert name here." And, they were paying a lot of attention when they sent that.
Yeah, like when they call you William, it's not really for you.
No, I get emails all the time from Mr. Carolina Hard Money.
You are Mr. Carolina Hard Money.
I think you should just accept that title. Just go with that.
I'd run with it. Yeah, I'd run with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him a Superman t-shirt that says Mr. Carolina Hard Money on the front.
Oh my gosh, please do. Please do that.
Getting back to your point, Cheryl, on the trying to figure out what's going to help you grow your business, taking those 2 pages and taking your obstacles on one side and then your opportunities on the other. One of the things that helped me, or what stuck out with me, was the fact that, yes, you have to put those obstacles there and your opportunities, but don't focus so much on the obstacles. You have to understand the obstacles, but if you focus all your attention on the obstacles are always going to be in front of you. And I kind of equate that to the professional golfer. You'll see them on these tournaments. They'll close their eyes before they make a shot. And what they're doing is they're visualizing how that shot is going to take place and then the outcome. And if you're doing that yourself with the paying too much attention to the obstacles, your mind will keep those obstacles in focus more. So if you focus on the opportunities, you're much greater opportunity to make the opportunities, as it were.
Well, and that's one of the things they talked about at this event, was really focusing on the positive and speaking the positive and and really visualizing the positive outcome. I try to do that daily. I know I've got people in my life, my husband, it's one of those people that always looks for what's the worst thing that can happen instead of assuming it's going to be a great thing. So I'm always fighting that. Pray for me.
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
Well, I was gonna say real quick, and that is so true right there. And one of there's probably other quotes in the Bible that I like better, but one of my favorite non-Bible quotes is Henry Ford's quote, right? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. I love that quote. There's so much truth in that, because you're right, whichever way you think. It's just that simple. And I really believe that's how it works. And I believe God rewards people who think they can, right? That's faith, right? So
That's
well,
right.
just to add to that, I actually run across those challenges on a daily basis with my team, with people, always not having that positive mindset. And I just cut them off and say, hey, what's the best thing that happened to you today so far? And that forces their brain to reverse and think about positive. And when I do that, they go, oh, here you go again. Then they know they have to jump on the positive. I do that all day long. When
there
I
you
start
go,
hearing
Fuquan.
it,
Positivity and gratitude. Come on.
You got to safeguard your mind from you have to, so
anything here is a first world problem.
Yeah.
That's
totally
That's so true.
Another big takeaway was the presentation on boring investments.
Yeah.
That was really, really good, because I believe now, especially since there's so much money coming from the stock market, chasing alternative investments, those guys are jumping into multifamily now, the big hedge funds in Wall Street. So I think people are chasing yield, and they don't understand that it's really based on a sponsor and the operation versus the deal.
Right.
So really sticking to something that's simple, boring, as they say, that you understand, even if it's a lower yield, it's good now, especially in this climate. So definitely, if you're listening to this call, get to know the sponsor, the operator, see what makes them tick, because they're the one that's driving the vehicle that ultimately will give you that return. So
that's right.
That was
we're like the poster children for boring. We've been
what Fuquan just said, that is so good. And someone at the meeting said this, that back in 2008, like after the reset happened, 80 to 90% of real estate investors went out of business. That's a big number. So what you said about the deal sponsor, that is huge. People who have weathered the storm, and that's part of what what David, how he bets all of us and so forth. But that's so true. That's so true. That's, you got to be careful. So
I have a saying that if you cannot explain the investment to your spouse, that's probably not an investment you want to get into.
Yeah.
Agreed. Or even understand it yourself. You're like, I don't know, but I gave them $100,000. And the returns are going to be really good.
Someday.
It says it right here.
Yeah. Gonna be. Man, I love that. Gonna be.
I have one that I really liked, as far as anyone who's listening that's a business owner. So we got to hear from Bert Copeland, New Life CFO. He's always great. And he said,
I like Bert a lot.
He said, do this exercise. If you own a business, look at your P&L. You cannot change your revenue. What can you do to get more profitable? What has to change to increase profit? And I thought that was a really good exercise that we can all do as well as business owners.
Yeah, he talked about turning your P&L upside down.
Yep,
Start
exactly.
from the bottom and then go to the top. That was
It was an L&P.
I like to add a team member name by every line on the P&L to see who's
Oh,
responsible
that's
for
good.
increasing or low numbers.
Well,
Yeah.
that goes into what Bert has talked about, knowing your, your income
Per
per
person.
person, your EBITDA
Yep.
per person, all of those things. And very important if you're running a business to know, salaries broken out by who's bringing in what, where, and when. And, and when you can do that, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
we-
actually in the process of doing that now.
We just
Hmm.
finished doing our monthly financial meeting. And while this is only 2 months into the year, we're looking at these numbers, and we added 4 new people, and we increased our payroll by
54%.
52%, but our revenues, gross revenues, were increased by 165% in that same 2-month period.
Well, there you go. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And then the net was like 122%. Again, that's only 2 months. In our business, you have ebbs and flows.
Well, I just want to correct. It was
Yeah, he's the numbers guy. We'll listen to Jonathan.
Is that not correct?
you're not correct. The gross was increased by
Hold on.
122%, and the net was increased by 164%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
So
had
the
it
gross
backwards.
was up, but the net actually got supercharged.
Yeah. And that's where we'd like to measure from. But it was just, it's amazing to see what happens when you really get your arms around what you're doing every day.
Mhm.
What are your numbers looking like every day, and staying on top of that. I'm amazed for us at how long we survived without having our map exacted like it is now. And I'm sure you guys are, doing the same thing, just really having things dialed in, just granular to where you really, really need to understand where you are minute to minute.
Yeah, you mentioned map. I learned a long time ago, you can't look for a city in Chicago with a map of Detroit.
I love that.
So true.
Well, you could, but you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, and I
That's
feel
pretty
like part of being anti-fragile is also the experience that as business owners that we and our teams create for our clients, right?
Right.
Our customers. And
Mhm.
I was talking to Ben, my significant other, last night, and he's doing business with someone. And I was just like, wow, they sent this paperwork. Nothing was filled out. We don't have an extension for someone. There was no onboarding process. And I said to him, this would never happen with me and my team, to my clients. Like, there's no way, right? So we also, and going back to being positive and gratitude, like, we want to create this positive environment that also helps make us anti-fragile, because it's
Mhm.
comfortable for people to do business with someone where they know the roadmap as a customer, as a client, of where they're going as well. So there's just so much to properly setting expectations and having that roadmap, not only for yourself and your team, but for the people that, that are your clients and customers. So
Right. And remembering our mistakes and actually experiencing mistakes. When people, people who are in business that say, they've never had foreclosures, or, they've never done bad deals, or they've never lost money in real estate, they scare me because, they haven't run into a wall. They haven't had to dig themselves out of wherever they were. And I think, Paul Moore, who was one of the speakers, had that podcast, How to Lose Money. What a great name for a podcast. Because really that's how we get better, with every scar we get.
Yes, young man in the lower right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Cheryl said, because it's a real key point here, right? And so I whoever your client is, right? Whoever your clients are, in our case, it's our investors and it's our tenants. And I tell our team all the time, I said, we only got to worry about 2 metrics: exceeding expectations for investors and exceeding expectations for tenants. If we do that, we don't got to worry about us. And my take is that if we really, really do focus on that, all that P&L stuff boy, it just takes care of itself. It's amazing how that happens, right? So,
Mhm.
like I think some people get too caught up in the numbers and not the service side of it, and that's the critical part. When you've got investors singing your praises to other investors and tenants doing the same thing in our case, then that's what puts our business on steroids. So
That's right.
Thanks, Glenn. I just added 2 more KPIs to the sheet.
my pleasure.
That's awesome. Listen, guys, we're coming up on, actually, we're over the clock.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys joining us. I'm going to start with Fuquan. You have any last thoughts?
Last thoughts. What I would say for last thoughts is really, if you're watching this, the theme of this show was takeaways from the last event was anti-fragile. Really is what you go through make you become who you eventually want to be or strive to be. And I always say growth starts within. Your business can't grow unless you grow, right? It will only grow to the extent that you do. So realize that there are shortcomings, there are going to be trials, but they're only going to make you stronger. And then eventually you'll become anti-fragile.
Awesome.
Excellent. Cheryl, what about you?
One of the things that I heard that resonated with me is always be in service. So whatever you're doing, always be in service. And once you do that, how can you not be anti-fragile?
Right. Well
It's a
said.
no-brainer.
Well said.
Glenn?
Yeah, I would say the main thing we haven't covered, or what I would say is worry about the things that you can control. There's a lot of things going on in this world right now in politics and what happened this morning with Russia and Ukraine. We can't control that, right? There's no sense sitting there dwelling on it. We've got to figure out what we can control and what we can make a difference in and things in our world, and not worry about the stuff that's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? You just can't dwell on it.
Right.
Excellent.
Well said.
So for time, I'm just going to say that, folks, if you are wanting to invest passively in real estate, both Glenn and Fuquan's contact information is right over there in the on the right hand side in the show notes, and will be in the show notes. And Cheryl's information is there as well. If you guys have any kind of merchant services, credit card services that you might want her to take a look at.
She's the bomb.
She will save you money. Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us on the show. I always love coming back and recapping this stuff because it helps me sort of remember, even though I keep notes. I always like to hear from others on what their take is too, because sometimes our takes are a little bit different than others. That's why we're in this group, so we can continue to bounce stuff off of one another
and lift each other up.
That's right.
Awesome.
So, audience, this is for you now. I'm talking to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on the Real Estate Investor Show. Hard money for real estate investors. We are Carolina Capital Management, and we are lenders in the Southeast for real estate investors. If you are interested in borrowing money, go to carolinahardmoney.com and click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor looking for passive returns, click on the accredited investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and sign up with Wednesdays with Wendy. We will see you guys next week.
Ta-ta.